Hey guys, Helen Hartsmith here again from the Heart of the Witch's Path YouTube channel. Hope you're having a good day. It's snowing today in Michigan, so I'm actually home from work today, and it feels a bit like a snow day, like when I was a kid. So I thought, what better thing to do on a cold day than to stay inside and make a video and talk to you guys. Yay! So today is another book review day, and I am here to tell you that I have a lot of really deep feelings about this particular book. The book in question is The Gates of Witchcraft, 12 Paths of Power, Trance, and Gnosis by Christopher Penczak. Ooh, let you get a little look at that cover. Pretty nifty, huh? So this is a copyright 2012 book by Copper Cauldron Publishing, which is a publishing house that I'm not really sure if, Christopher started it, but I don't think it's like in his name. I think it's like, I don't know if it's how deep it's involved with like the temple and what have you, but this is a publishing company that Christopher is affiliated with. And so it's one of the first, I was looking at his list of books, and it looks like that this was probably the third book of his that was published through Copper Cauldron. So 2012 copyright date. This is about 320 pages of lovely, incredible information. So one of my deep feelings about this particular book is disappointment in myself that I had not read this sooner. This is a great read. This book basically deals with different trance styles, and he goes in depth in each chapter about various styles of trance work. So trance, in case you don't know what that means, trance work is that shifting of consciousness that happens when we do things like meditation. Meditation is one of the forms of trance work that Christopher covers in this book. And so trance work is when we shift our consciousness in order to learn things, make contact with various spirits, all of that kind of work. And so what this book does is it starts with the easier forms of trance work and works its way into the more difficult ones. And actually his work is based on, traditionally, there are 8 varieties of trance work. So he covers those 8, as I said, starting with the easier types and moving into the harder ones. And then he also covers basically 4 additional paths that can help you in your trance work and can lead to some serious positive work, okay? So each chapter covers each area. So I'm trying to find, as I'm talking, I'm trying to find my table of contents here. So we start with meditation, and he covers a lot of information. For those of you who are familiar with Christopher or his work, meditation is an essential part of the work and study that he does. And so it's really, so he has a very distinct style when it comes to his meditation practices. And if you take classes with him, if you get into his mystery school, you will, if you read his books, you will, right away see what his style is about. And it was one that was incredibly beneficial to me when I was struggling with with meditation. And so I think that that was probably one of the large draws for me to go to him as a student and learn from him, was his meditation practices. But he covers some different ways of meditation in his chapter that I'm kind of eager to explore more. That he talks about breath work, which he talks about breath work quite often in his work as well. And I've been meaning, because, you might get some discussion about, one or two, small handful here in one book. There might be some talk of some others, or, things like that in another book. And I've really been thinking, gosh, you know what? I need to kind of do some kind of a roundup, so to speak, of these different kinds of breaths that are out there, because Christopher's not the only one that uses breath work. It's been around for a long time, but I was thinking I need to have some kind of an information roundup just to kind of have everything in one place. And I was really impressed to read that chapter, because there's a lot of stuff right there. So I feel like I can go, maybe take some notes and add it to my book of light, so I have it in a place where I can go and kind of download or refresh my download when I need it. So that I thought was really, really interesting. He talks about music and how you can use music in trance work, both recorded music and vocal music. So if you were singing or using singing as that kind of work. He also talks about dance, all kinds of movement as trance work. That was really interesting. I'm just going to kind of touch on like each one. Isolation is another chapter, various forms of isolation that you can work with. And the cool thing too is that he talks about like ways in which they can help your practice, but he also talks about, things to be aware of when dealing with these different kinds of trance work opportunities. So I appreciated that too, because it really gives you caution, things to think about if you have health concerns and things like that. So I feel like he really covered his bases in terms of presenting the information and presenting all of the information that you might want to think about. He talks about the path of poison, dealing with a lot of baneful, in this case, a lot of baneful plants that you might choose to work with that would alter consciousness. So that was really interesting. And the fact that not always does that path require you to take into your body those plants. There are other ways that you can work with them. You can work with the smoke of burning the plant matter. You can work with essences of the plant so that you're not ingesting the plant straight up. So it kind of widened the opportunities for me. The next chapter talks about sex and how you can use sex in trance work. Again, some really interesting ideas that I hadn't thought of when it comes to I don't incorporate sex a lot into my practice. I have here and there, but it's not really something that I've had a huge calling to do. But there's definitely some ideas that were presented here that makes it a little bit more open. Not that I was closed off to it, but other ways of using sex as trance work that, again, that I hadn't thought of. The path of pain, that is another path that he talks about, and I believe it was in that chapter that that he talked about how he was kind of cautioned by some people, maybe you don't want to talk too much about this particular path, the path of pain, which also he also included blood trance work and the ordeal path and things like that in his discussion. But he felt that it was important to have a resource, basically. If you're going to talk about one, you need to talk about all. And that chapter probably had like more precautions than some of the others, but he felt that the information was important enough that it should be shared, and that you have to be responsible about using some of these pathways that are a little bit more obscure than others, a little bit more, some might say dangerous than others. If you go into it with full knowledge of what to expect, what cautions that you should be thinking about, what frame of mind you should be in, or what frame of mind you could develop through using this. I appreciated it because I felt like I got the entire picture. And so that at the end of the day, knowledge is power. And so am I going to run out and, inflict pain upon myself for trance work? Probably not, just because there are plenty of other forms in which that I do feel comfortable using. But if that's something that presented itself that I wanted to try at some point, at least I feel like I've got a resource that I've read that I can go back to and, kind of review things before actually doing it. So kudos to that. Some of the new kinds of ideas that he presents is the use of time in trance work. And so time of day, time of year, and the different trance works that, can come out of working with time. That was interesting. The path of sacred garments. We talk about, Kathy and I at least, we talk to our students about how ritual garb isn't necessarily a requirement, but there is value in donning ritual clothing, whether that be a robe, whether that be a necklace, whether that be a ring, footwear, whatever. There is something to be said in that power of shifting your consciousness when donning those items. And so to have it included in this book, in this work, I thought that it was good, and I thought that it was definitely, for me, it made me think about things a little bit differently. And so that's always good. Like all of this information, will that mean a shift in how I do things? Maybe not necessarily, but at least the idea of it makes me think. You know what I'm saying? So that's always good. Another kind of new path is the Dreamwork. And that's really cool. Dreamwork has a lot of weight in Christopher's third year in his shamanic year of study, and so it made sense to me to see that here in this book, knowing the weight that he put on it during that year of study. And then the final one is Walking the Spiral. So that was really interesting too. And in that chapter he talks about the circle, casting the circle as a form of trance work, because really when you cast a circle, you're taking yourself out of time and space, and that is its own trance work. When a lot of times even I look at casting the circle as shifting my consciousness into that ritual magical mindset. And so that made sense to me that it was included in this work. He also talked about purification as that kind of trance work tie-in, and your tools, different tools and how they can work with you in different trance work opportunities. So, yeah, I thought that, again, I'm disappointed with myself that I had not read this book sooner. It's been sitting on my shelf for a while, as have a lot of my books, but in the last few years, I've really been making it a point to read my books and not just kind of thumb through them, actually, take them in. And so that's something that's really important to me. So, so this is my 4th book that I've completed so far in 2021. So I'm kind of geeked about that. I highly recommend this book. There is a ton. Sorry, my throat's a little dry. There is a ton of great information in these pages. Hands down, easily 5 out of 5 brooms on this. There's a lot of things that are touched on in other books that he writes. He pulls a lot of Gardnerian information too. So if you're a Gardnerian witch, then some of this stuff might be familiar to you. But yeah, I mean, it's a great book. Now, there is one thing that I feel like I have to say that was a bit of a downer, a boo for me. Christopher, if you're watching this, I'm super sorry. This book needs to be edited severely. There are a lot of spelling mistakes. There's like some grammar mistakes that are in here. And I feel like that might be maybe, like, I don't know what, what the editing process was for this particular book, but I felt myself wishing I had a red pen as I read this so that I circled or what have you. And usually I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to that kind of stuff. So if I pick up on a lot of spelling errors, then it must be pretty noticeable. So just, a word of caution that you may or may not have run into this. This is probably a first printing. I don't know that for certain. But I mean, there's no information in the beginning of the book that says that this is a second printing. And generally, Christopher books I tend to buy when they come out right away. So, this guy needs to be looked at. Let me just say that. So just to warn you that might be something that you come across if you purchase this book. But, it's so worth it to read through it because the information is so stinking good. So I'm going to put a link to Christopher's site to purchase this book. Highly recommend it. Multiple thumbs up, 5 brooms out of 5. No worries. So, have you read this book? If so, I would like to know what you think about it. Let me know in the comments below. Do you know of a similar book that talks about trance work and different methods in which that you can try? I would love to hear about that too. I like looking at different things and stuff. So, so if you liked this video or learned something from it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, that subscribe button is around somewhere. It's a little red button. Click it. I guess it's like super important to click the notification bell too. That way you will get messages when I upload a new video. So that's kind of helpful, right? There will be links in the description box for things like Instagram and the Facebook page. So check me out there. Check Kathy's Instagram out as well. What are you reading right now? I would love to know. I have a big old stack of books that I am reading, and so I'm trying to give myself a little variety in my reading. So I'll have some fiction, I'll have some nonfiction, which is gonna mostly be metaphysical, witchy content. So I would love to hear what you're reading. So that's gonna be it for me this time. Thanks for walking the path for a little while with me, and until next time, blessed be.